This seems like a good time to bring on Alan Kelly, who is here as he is each Friday, as we talk about the plays for the presidency. And he has a new app that we want to once again bring out here. But Plays for the Presidency. Alan, of course, the CEO of Playmaker Systems, has the periodic table of politics and plays. And Playcaller is the new app, if you haven't heard about it. And playmakersystems.com is the website. Welcome once again to the show.
Good morning. I think Mitt Romney probably couldn't believe it that,
that he's got a new
Barack
meme to hold
Obama
on to
had
it.
served that up.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this, just to put it in context, what his point was, and it was poorly made, I think, in that the president said, change got to come from the outside, and he was trying to say that it is the American people who have to make the change. And then he went on to say, and healthcare is the way that they did that. And that really doesn't work either, because the healthcare change was not brought about so much by the outside.
Yeah,
because
you're bothering me with details.
I know, that's right.
That's context, Tim. That's context.
I'm sorry.
That's too hard
That's what
for
I deal
us.
in. Thank you very much. But Mitt Romney, by the way, said the exact same thing in 2008. You can't change Washington from the inside to the outside. There,
details.
Okay, there. There's no detail play, huh?
Yeah. Well,
the overwhelmed play.
No, that's an interesting thought. What we are seeing is, that a candidate will jump on something which can be, if it can be credibly recast, and that's the play, a recast, they will do it. And we saw an example of that as as Romney comes out of this problem he's had this week.
The 47%.
Yeah. I mean, he went and he dredged up a 1998 clip by Obama talking about, quote, redistribution.
What was that play to do that?
Well, he's recasting.
He's recasting.
Yeah, and he's taking it out of context. If you look at the full quote there, but it's credible enough, and it serves his purpose to try to get off this bad rail he's on of the 47%. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of recasting going on, and that's a play that's dead center on our spectrum of 24 possibilities of what we believe are 24 influence plays in the political process, or in marketing, or sales, or advertising, or public relations, or anything in the influence industries.
Why wouldn't a deflect work better?
Well, a deflect doesn't really. A deflect would allow a point still to settle in. Mm-hmm. A deflect is merely just to buy time for a beat or two in the news cycle. Mm-hmm. But if a point is coming at you and it's caustic some way, or eroding your brand or reputation, you can deflect, but you can't do that for long. You've got to somehow address it and flip it, bend it, or blunt it to your advantage.
Okay, so the reason I asked that question is because, although it's not related to what Mitt Romney was doing with the 47%, the last week has seen an awful lot of conversation about what happened in Libya. What happened in Libya? There was an attack on the embassy. The ambassador was killed. The administration, through its surrogates, including the ambassador to the United Nations, has been saying all along it was this sort of spontaneous uprising as a result of this objectionable film.
Yep.
And now we had somebody testifying on Capitol Hill the other day saying that, no, it was a terrorist attack, and the White House was denying. The State Department was saying we don't have enough information. And then yesterday, Jay Carney, White House press secretary, on board Air Force One, says it was self-evidently a terrorist attack. The president yesterday didn't want to go too far, but they've been, it seems like deflecting, sort of saying until we get enough information. But at some point, even after the briefing yesterday that the Secretary of State gave all of these people in the Senate and the House, there's a lot of people who are saying, look, this is a terrorist attack. We were attacked on 9/11. Let's just admit it and figure out what we did wrong and move on with this. And that doesn't seem to be where this White House wants to go. Now, are they deflecting? Is this a bad strategy to do this? Because it seems that when you just kind of hang on to a shred of uncertainty and use that to stand behind, that you are eventually going to wind up paying the price here.
For every play that we know about, there are various upsides and there are various downsides. The upside to a deflect, which you're pursuing, is, again, that it gives you just a second to think. Mm-hmm. It buys you time. The downside, of course, is it can definitely appear to be evasive. Think, in fact, of the press secretary who says, I will take that under consideration, mm-hmm. or we will address that question, or let's take that offline, blah, blah, blah. Those are all deflects. And so you can do it only so many times before you get called on in a different way. So they're probably out of ammunition on that, and they've got to do something different pretty quick.
All right, let's talk back the campaign again, and I want to use this little app that I have here on the. This is wonderful. What you need to do is for me to get used to this. You need to leave this book here. This what is this? An iPad?
Yeah, an
you
iPad
need to leave this.
too.
Can you leave it for a couple of
sure
months and just let me try it out and see how it works? But I was looking at got a couple of different things, and you were looking at the Playmakers table, and you were talking about things like challenges and Crazy Ivans, and this one play is called the Crazy Ivan. And why would you call this play?
There needs to be a name for the basic strategy of rushing a pursuer.
Okay.
Now, and so being a fan of submarines and Tom Clancy and all that, and it struck me as a great phrase that's somewhat in the popular parlance for when you turn on somebody like a submarine, which is was just tailing you. You need at least to confront them and control the circumstances.
You want to see if they're in your wake somehow.
Yes,
in the submarine.
That's right. So you turn and you rush them, and at least you control the circumstances of the confrontation, which is looming anyway. Yeah. So. I think the Crazy Ivan, the name for rushing that, could have been employed by Romney on his 47%. I think instead, what he did is he came out and he sort of softly recasted it. He apologized a little bit for that, and then he said, and I think this is actually a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, this was your recast, was it not? This is sort of like, this is what I was really meaning to say. Is that a recast of his own opinion?
He came out immediately. He said, well, it was inelegant. I mean, he made a concession. Instead, and I'm no scriptwriter, but if he had ran the Crazy Ivan, I mean, the messaging would have gone something like this, and maybe he would have shot at the media. Said, you in the literati mainstream media, you're worried about how I phrase things. Well, listen, I'm worried about how you report them. What exactly are you mad at here, me or the facts? And boom, he would be off to the races. He would be in control of an electric issue. It might be a debatable issue, but it is very real. I mean, many Republican leaders have been saying, you know what, that is a teachable moment. Don't leave that here. That is core, in fact, to the campaign and all the things
but this
we'd
was
like
not
Mitt
just
Romney
about,
to be talking
but
about.
this was not just about, as he tried to recharacterize it, whether or not people, I mean, it seems to me as you listen to his comments and read the transcript of what he said, it was not so much about whether or not the country is becoming increasingly dependent on the government or the populace is, but it was more along the lines of characterizing those who are dependent on the government as moochers and setting up a separate class. Even conservatives think that this is just anathema to the conservative philosophy that we're all the same. And I mean, it was Ronald Reagan who started the earned income tax credit. So the point is, in that case, I understand what you're saying, what the play he could have run, because frankly, the Crazy Ivan is create an option where you don't have one, right?
Exactly.
And maybe give you an opening that you might be able to exploit down the road. You'll just throw something against the wall and maybe it'll stick. But in that case, I couldn't see how that would have worked, attacking the media for the way they were reporting, because that wasn't what they were reporting.
Okay, here's another one.
All right, give me another one.
Let's say he runs a play that we call a challenge, which might be self-evident. He says something like this, which is sort of Romney-esque, I think. He says, as Americans, we should know the truth and own up to it. We are all too dependent upon government. What was first an ethic to help the needy get going has become a policy that helps the needy keep needing.
Okay, now that would make more sense.
Something like that.
Right, now that would make more sense.
And to say that first and out of the chute, rather than to recast, say, well, it was inelegant. The minute he did that, he took the oxygen, he took his own oxygen away, and he appeared to be apologizing, which is ironically what he's accusing Obama of.
How has the president been playing this?
Well, the president was given an opportunity because Romney kind of hesitated, because he's so averse to disagreement and debate, I think. Then it gave Obama a second to come back and start talking about the 100%. He immediately went on Letterman. Maybe it was scheduled, maybe it wasn't. And he says, and actually in my job, I like to think about the 100%. So he immediately recast or positioned or depositioned Romney as being more like a 47%er guy. He completely fipped.
I'm presidential, he's not.
Oh, absolutely. He did
that
last week as well. A nice pat on the head of Romney to say, I get my job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and he's, but again, this is the new one. So now we got this inside-outside thing that is I guess, going to play.
We do, and it'll play, and it really is a gift left for Romney. He now gets to kind of get off that bad wave. Maybe he will win a week. I've been informally scoring the weeks as we go by. I think this is week number -9, if you will. And again, Obama won it. Obama seems, it's like I'm judging rounds of boxing. He's winning about 3/4.
All it counts is the last week, though. You could do that sort of Sugar Ray final flurry, and you can win.
It's fair enough, but as I look at this, I mean, this is, to every hammer, everything looks like a nail. So this is my particular frame. If you think about influence strategy and the games and the gamesmanship of really rhetoric in this debate, Obama wins consistently. And sometimes because he's got a play in mind that he wants to run offensively, sometimes because he's just faster and more facile at reacting and countering. That, I think, is going to have a material impact and outcome. Although
I will say, in conclusion here, is that one of the things we have talked about, you and I, is that Mitt Romney has not been agile, and this was an example of agility. It was within moments, I think, of the president saying what he said at the Univision town hall that Mitt Romney was on the stump saying what he said yesterday. I mean, he had 3 or 4 boom, news clips, one-liners, without a lot of context and detail, which we know, as we've discussed here this morning, is damaging when it has to do.
So is it,
context and details are bad things.
So 47 days away, and silly context.
46. I haven't updated the sign, but
46. 46 and now he's getting it.
Yeah,
I hope that's in time.
Yeah, we will see. Alan Kelly, of course, playmakersystems.com, and the app, if you'd like to download it, is available. It's just an iPhone app right now, right?
iPhone and iPad.
Oh, an iPad, okay. And that is available. It's called Play Color, and it's very colorful. It's very nice, and someday I'll get a free book to use it on. So it's always great. Have a great weekend.
See you next week.